Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be interviewing Haesung, who is a medical student in Padova University. We are redoing the interview to make sure that all the information is a bit more accurate and up to date. This is a new setup that we're using. So at the end of the interview, there are students in chat who are a part of our private community who will then ask their questions as a small Q&A style. So if this is something you want to be able to take advantage of next time, I'll leave the details in the comments. So essentially, Haesung, thank you for doing this. Can you give a brief introduction to yourself?
Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Haesung, who is a medical student in Padova English Medical School. I I just finished my third year and will move on to fourth year this September soon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what do you think of the university? Like, as just a broad, like, general entrance, are you generally happy? Do you like it? Is it meeting your expectations?
Yeah, when I was choosing Padova as my first choice when I was preparing for the IMAT, I really liked the idea of Padova being one of the oldest university in not just in Italy but in the world. Also, the medical school of Padova has a very long history, and there are a lot of profounding researches or discoveries done in Padova. So I think that kind of historical part somewhat mesmerized me. Also, the university, not just university, but the city itself, the location of the city, and the kind of quality of life that you can expect in the city is kind of decent. So I think
Okay.
I'm overall very happy.
Cool. So, what are your timetables like? What is your day to day? Let's say when you start in first year and now you're moving into clinical years. So, what does the day to day look like?
So I think the first year timetable is kind of chill. So I think my first year usually started at the time 8:30 in the morning and finished before 12:30, pretty much every day.
Oh
So it's
wow,
like 4 hours of a lecture a day. Yeah,
that's a very
yeah.
short day.
So
Okay.
yeah, like a pretty much first semester was every day was similar to that table, and from second semester you start to have a 1 or 2 days in a week that you finish around 3 o'clock because you get more lectures.
Okay.
And on second year, actually you start to have more lectures and lecture like a overall like a time of lecture as you move on to like upper year. And in second year, I think it was 2 or 3 days. We finished around 3 or 5 o'clock. Friday, it always ended at 12. And third year, it was like a kind of busier. So since I had some extra Italian courses to do, my most of my days in third year finished around 5 or 7, except for Friday. So
Okay. Do you know how when you start clinical years this is going to be affected? Because now in fourth year you should probably start going. No, because okay, wait. Clinical experience, we're going to talk about that separately, but how does your timetable change in fourth, fifth, and sixth?
oh yeah, definitely. Actually, even in the third year, we have some internship in the hospital, and to do the internship, we actually have like a, a month of empty like a timetable
Oh, okay.
that's gonna grant us the time for the like internship. For example, this end of May and beginning of June session, we didn't have any lectures because that was like a 2 week internship time for third year students.
Okay.
So I think that's like overall the how we arrange the timetable is that we don't usually mix the like internship and the lectures in the same time, but we kind of separate them.
All right. So also in fourth and fifth year, instead of like splitting your days, you're essentially gonna split the weeks where you have internship weeks and then you have like class weeks instead of like, I don't know, internships in the morning and classes in the evening.
So I'm not so sure about the fourth year and fifth year internship, but according to what I heard from the upper year students, they told me usually universities separate the internship time and the class like a lecture time.
Okay.
So in the different weeks.
So since we're on the topic of like practical experience, I also heard, I mean, you told me as well that in Padova you start, for example, like doing radiology internships in first year and the practical experience starts early. So could you maybe like explain so far what it's been like and what your expectations are of like your exposure to practicals essentially?
So, yeah, in Padova in first year, we do have an internship. It's a 1 week internship in the radiology unit in the hospital. I personally don't understand why like we have radiology in our first year because usually we learn radiology when in the third year lecture. We don't have any idea about radiology, but they just sent us there. But at the same time, it's kind of like a very nice experience because you get to see what happens in the hospital, like overall. So I think it's a good time to get yourself like kind of know about this Italian overall healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
Also, seeing what radiologists do in the radiology unit is kind of nice. If you're interested in the field, you might start, let's say, um, start to be inspired by the things you do there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, first year internship is just that, only 1 week in radiology. In the second year, like we have some cadaver dissection as a
Mm-hmm.
part of our anatomy, like a lecture.
Okay,
Also
interesting.
yeah, and also there are some other like a lab, like a dissection, like a session, like held in a neuroanatomy lectures too. So we have some like visiting the lab and seeing the cadaver and some organs, but that doesn't mean that we conduct hands-on dissection.
Right.
Dissection in Padova is always done by professors,
Okay.
and we always observe. But like at the end of the dissection, we have a chance to actually touch some of the organs of the body. I
Right.
think that's a nice part.
No, that's definitely nice, but this is why I always make the distinction between a dissection and a prosection. Because a lot of universities do a prosection, which is essentially when the anatomy professor does the dissection in front of you, explaining things. Whereas, like, a dissection is more the student gets to do it. So, a lot of universities do have some version of a prosection. Um, but yeah, cool. So, Padua does prosections, not dissections, just to clarify. Yes. Okay, cool. And what about like other lab
Oh,
experience? Oh,
And just adding some stuff, and in the second year we have like a 160 hours of a lab internship. It's
okay.
not the direct clinical experience, but you get to like a help a research or experiments that's done in the like a labs run by the professors.
So you
So I
actually
think
get
if you're
to
interested,
help? Like every student is
yeah,
assigned a
yeah,
professor?
yes, every student has to choose a lab that they want to work for. For example, I worked for a pharmacology professor who
Uh
works
huh.
in this various different molecules, and I was actually paired up with one of the master student and helped this experiment. And I actually had to present, like at the end of the internship, to professor what I did and how the experiment went, etc.
Wow, that's really
Different,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I think it's specifically only in the medical English medical program in Padova. I heard from Italian medical school that they don't have this kind of a session, but I think it's kind of nice to um, like have this because it opens up some possibility for you to work as a physician and scientist in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's definitely really, really interesting. So, and every student does this, so you're like exposed to research very early on then. Because 160
Yeah,
hours is quite
so
a bit as well.
it's quite a lot, and some students struggle to manage those hours with the exam session and lecture time, but eventually pretty much everybody managed to finish that nicely. And professors are
Interesting.
not so strict about that hours. They're sometimes very generous about it.
Okay. So you were just
Yeah.
saying that it was difficult to manage like the exam sessions. So maybe let's talk about the general calendar when your exams are, and then we'll move on to like the modality of the exams.
Yeah. So I think it's nice to talk both like in the same topic because they're kind
Mm-hmm.
of very relevant to each other. But in Padua, we have five official appelli. So three in the summer and autumn session and two in the winter session. That's the official number. It's a minimum number of exam session that we get for each
Mm-hmm.
subject. So usually it's in June, July, September for the summer and autumn session, and for winter it's January, February.
Mm-hmm.
But just like other university, we also pre-appello depending on professor. Sometimes professors gives out more appellos for the students, and we can so we can have a better schedule for the exam.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you can say like a first semester starts from end of September, beginning of October, and it usually finishes around at the beginning of January, and the exam session starts right away after that. And after January, February, two appellees. On March, there's a second semester beginning, and it finishes at the beginning of June, and there's a June-July summer session. August, there is no exam, and September, like a final appello, the fifth one.
And so you get multiple attempts. Do you have a limit of like the number of times you can try an exam?
Oh, as long as I know, there's no limit on like a number of attempts that's allowed. I think students like even if they don't pass the exams after 6 or 7 fail in passing the exam, still they can go for 8 or 9 chances. I think professors, yeah, gives unlimited chances, but
And
you have to,
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
but you have to take those exams in the certain appello. Like you can't ask for exam in April or March.
Yeah, of course. And so, how many attempts a year do you get? Like between all of these sessions, would you say it's about like 7, 8 in total?
No, five. Only five
Okay.
appelli in 1 year. Yeah.
Okay, 5 appelli in 1 year. And you can still progress to the next year if you haven't finished all your exams.
Yeah, I mean, I think Padova does not like block you from progressing
Okay.
to next year. But the problem here is that if you don't manage to pass the prerequisite, you cannot sit on for next year's exam.
Okay.
So it's kind of meaningless to move on.
Okay. And now my question is, there is a rumor online that every single exam you do in Padova is written. Can you explain a bit more if there are oral exams or if it is indeed 100% written or yeah.
So from the first year to the first semester of third year, so from the first year to the first semester of third year, every exam is written except for one exam.
Okay.
So there's a one exam in the second year, which is a microbiology. That's an oral exam with a professor. I think it's kind of nice to like have a first oral exam like experience in the second year. But except for that, everything until first semester of third year is written exam. From the second semester of third year, it becomes very oral exam heavy.
Okay.
So yeah, what I heard from the upper year is that from second semester of third year all the way till sixth year, pretty much everything is oral exam except for very few.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I feel like oral exams are just a inescapable part of Italy that everyone's going to eventually need to accept.
Yeah, that's true. And I heard from the Italian medical school in Padua that they actually start oral exam from the first year.
Yeah. Okay. So what type of resources does Padova give you as medical students? Like, what type of support structures do you have? What type of subscriptions do you have? Do you have access to, I don't know, USMLE prep? Like, what is the university resources like?
I think so far have not heard of any. Recently, we started like some kind of trial with the Ambos. It's like a medical resource website
I
where
love
they
Ambos.
also provide like a good quality medical resource, and also they provide like a questions for USMLE prep as well. But it's like a trial, so we are trying to figure out whether how many students actually use Ambos. So school is trying to decide in the future, maybe around September, October, whether they're going to purchase like a group university plan for us or not. But except for that, I don't think there is like any like a resources or like a subscription provided to us for free.
What about like lecture materials, like the presentations or recommended books? Does the library supply them? Like,
I think people usually study with the presentation from professors. I think that's the best resource to study for the exams. Personally, well, I respect every way of studying medicine, but personally, using textbook for exam in your school is, I don't know, can be too much.
yeah.
Like people have different ideas about it. So for the presentation, for the PPT that professor makes, lecture materials are usually given to us once the lecture is over. Like I barely saw professors giving us like a file before the lecture. They usually give us it at the when the lecture is over. And also there are some like things to read, some extra materials that we can like check for like a better performance in the exam. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. I didn't see anybody like getting a free textbook from the school. I think it's part of the financial support, but not to everybody.
Okay. Um, All right, all right. So, what about the libraries then? Because you said, I mean, there must be textbooks in the libraries, right? But in general, what are like the
Oh
libraries
yeah.
like? What are the study spaces like? Is it easy during exam
Oh,
session to find seats? Like, yeah.
yeah, I think libraries and study facility in Padua is like very accessible to everybody. We don't have like a big library, like big central library, but we have like a libraries for every department. So we have like more than 20, 25 libraries all around Padua. We use the app called Affluences to
Mm-hmm.
make a reservation for the certain time slot in the library, and we just go there and like study for the time that we reserve. And like it's everywhere. Like you go to anywhere in Padua, and there will be library within like 10 minutes walk.
I mean, the
Also, we
fact
have a
for such a small library, such a small city, you have 25 libraries. Yeah, that says a lot because Padova is quite small. So,
yeah, it's a small city, but we have a lot of library, and it's a student city. A lot of the people in Padua are students, and people are always searching for a study space. So, and also, there's a lot of the study room, which is not a library, but it's just like a big space with a bunch of desks and chairs where
mm-hmm.
people go there to study. For those study rooms, we don't make any reservation. It's like first come, first served basis.
Mm-hmm. What about like the other facilities, whether it's like for sports or canteen or labs? Like, what are the other facilities of the university like?
So, university has like a multiple like a Mensa canteens.
Mm-hmm.
We have a big Mensa in the center of the city, but we also have like a lot of different Mensas around Padova. I think the food there is kind of okay. Price was like 4.7 euros if you pay full price as a student. But depending on your financial situation and depending on your easy, you're also possible to get like a free meal there.
Mm-hmm.
And for the sports facility, there is like a KUS, which is like a university sports like a team association.
Mm-hmm.
I have never tried it, but my friends do it. They provide like a lot of different like a sports lessons, or they even have like a sports team. So if you're like interested in certain sports like soccer, basketball, like a baseball, whatever, you can actually ask those teams whether you can join and play for them. Yeah. Also, they have a lot of sports lessons. Actually, one of my friend does judo there, so
Oh,
you
nice.
can. Yeah. So they provide a lot of variable options for students who's interested in doing sports. And
Okay.
there's a lot of like a private gyms around Padua where they provide like a student membership. It's like a discounted price. You don't pay the full price for the gym, but you pay like a discounted price. There's like a gym McFit. It's like a big private gym chain, and if you're a student, you pay like 20 euros a month.
Mm-hmm. What about like the teaching facilities? So like your classrooms, do you have plugs? Are they spacious? Is it a whiteboard? Is it a projector? I don't know. Like what are the teaching facilities like?
Yeah, so there are like teaching facilities are all scattered around Padua. It's
Mm-hmm.
we, yeah, so English medical school we have been moving around the city a bit
Mm-hmm.
to like a yeah in search of like a study room, like a lecture room. But for now we are in the like Collegio Edele.
Mm-hmm.
It's a building with like a spacious like studies lecture space. So there's a projector and like a lot of seats.
Okay.
And yeah, I think as we move on, we're gonna have lectures in the like a university, like a hospital complex, but I'm not sure about it.
Okay. So at the moment they move you around a lot depending on the class.
So like first year, I was in a different building with a different like a room, but in the second year, we moved to this Collegio Edale and we do lectures here. Third year, we're yeah, just once or twice a year that we move around.
Mm-hmm. And what about the professors? Like, are you happy with their levels of English? Are you happy with their teaching? Like, do you think the quality is generally high?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think professors of Padova are like a great. Some professor did their like a research or clinical experience in the US or UK, so there some of them are like a very proficient in English. Some professors, I think it's a kind of Italian thing, but some professors speak very heavy Italian English.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of different from like a normal English that we hear, but it's still understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some variability between professors, but overall the quality is great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
What about I mean, I know this question's a bit stupid because it really depends on the luck of the year and how it goes, but what about like class dynamics? Do you feel Padova is generally a collaborative environment? Do people generally get along, or is it attracting maybe more competitive and less likable people? I don't know, not you, of course, though. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think this class dynamic thing is different by every year.
yeah.
I hear different things about class dynamics in like first or second year or fifth year. We all have a different dynamics, but I think for competitive atmosphere, I think it's kind of every medical school has this kind of vibe because everybody in the med school are usually they were raised in a very competitive like environment,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of very used to being in this situation. So I think Padova, like in my year, it's kind of competitive in our course,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have some like a meaning of cooperation. For example, like we make our like a Slovenia, it's called like it's like a lecture note, and we make
Mm-hmm.
them together.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to collecting like past paper questions, we work on that as well. So I think what I can say is that it's competitive, but there's like some level of cooperation going on.
Okay, so collaborative enough. Okay,
Yeah, I think
I
it's enough for you to to get to survive in med school.
okay, survival is, I guess, the primary objective. So I have three kind
It
of small
is.
questions, and then we're done with the university portion. The first one is, what are the tuition fees, like the costs without the ISE? With the ISE, do you divide it based on country? How does the university fees work?
Hmm. Okay, for the tuition, I think the full tuition is 2,600 euros for non-European. I'm not sure about the European tuition because I have never paid that that money, but for non-EU, I think it's 2,600 euros a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you pay those tuition. I think it was three times. You separate them into like you separate them by three, and you pay in a three different uh what should I say
Installments.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, installment exactly. Yeah. So it's like you start with like a 600, and you pay like I don't know 1,000 something, and you pay the rest at the end.
Mm-hmm. And it's not based on the country you're from, it's based on the ISE, like the reduction.
It's all based on the ISA, and ISA is like I think ISA is based on like how much income does your
Yeah.
family make, also like how much asset does your
Mm-hmm.
family have. It's very dependent based on like based on the student situation. So, but if you have like a low ISA, I heard the tuition is exempt. You don't pay tuition at all.
Okay, cool. And what about language certificates? Did you need one to enroll? Like, did you need an English one? Do you need an Italian one to pass into your clinical years? How do language certificates work?
So I don't think there's English certificate required in Padova.
Perfect.
For Italian, for my year, it's B1 level by fourth year,
You
having
do
B1
have
Italian
one.
certificate.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, B1 level Italian by fourth year. You can either take the official, like a national Italian, like a official exam, like a CHILS or other,
Mm-hmm.
authorized Italian exam, or you can just take lectures in CLA, which is a university, like a language course.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pass those a certain level, you are certified for Padova, like Italian, like
Do
a language.
does the university provide Italian classes for free, or are you expected to learn it
Yeah,
on
it's
your own?
free.
Okay. And what
It's
are the
free
Italian
and
classes
like a
like?
oh, I think it's like you get to see a lot of peers that's in a similar situation as you, like people who need to have certain Italian level by certain year to do something. So, but overall, the lecture quality I cannot say it's like a super great, but it
It's
gives
free.
you the idea of how. Yeah, it's free, and there's unlimited number of lectures like you can take. So
Okay,
you
so
can
there's
take every
no
semester if you want.
oh, okay, so there's no limit and you can keep going with the classes to whatever level you want, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's
Also,
quite
they
nice.
provide like a different, yeah, other language courses too, like German, Spanish, French,
Mm.
Russian, like so. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, that sounds quite nice. So I have one final question, and then I'm going to ask the chat for questions. Hopefully, I'm not forgetting to ask you anything. Um, I have also heard that if you score very high on the IMAT, Padova gives you a massive grant in first year. Is that true? Do you know anything
Oh,
about this?
yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true.
Do you know how much it is?
Yeah, yeah, I know how it is because I received some part
What? You
because of
received
my
it?
IMAX
Okay.
score.
Amazing.
Okay.
Give us the
So
gossip.
Padova for yeah for non-EUs. I think I'm not sure about the EU students but for non-EU students, Padova gives certain like some scholarship for having like a scoring high score in the IMAT.
Hmm.
So for the first place in the non-EU students, I heard it's 3 years tuition plus there was like 10,000 euros a year for living expenses.
Are you serious?
It's a big money, isn't it?
That is a huge amount of money.
Yeah, it's actually like a big money that's gonna allow you like a very decent lifestyle in Padova for 3 years. That's
So
good.
every year, just to clarify, you get your tuition paid and you get 10,000 euro a year for 3 years.
Yes, yes, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. For the second place in the for as a non-EU students, you get 3 years tuition and you get 5,000 euros in your first year, and that's it.
Oh my God. All right. All right. Does third place get anything or just disappointment? I don't know.
And for the third place, you get 3 years tuition, but you don't get any living expenses. But it's still kind of decent. Like a
I
3 years of
that is crazy. But I assume for EU they also have like a top three agreement.
yeah, I think so, but actually didn't get to talk about this with the EU students because I didn't have any access to EU
Wow.
scoring, so I could not find out who's like a highest like IMAT score in our class among EU candidates. But yeah, I think that's a good thing.
I kind of
There's
hate
a
Padova
scholarship
now.
too.
Okay, wait. So these people get that, and then what about like year to year? Does the top of the class receive anything, or do you just get like fee reductions? Like, how does it work after the IMAT?
I have no idea about it because I don't exactly know who's like a best performing student in the class. We
Okay.
are class of it's a kind of large class, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't actually know, and I didn't have a chance to talk about it. But actually, to continue on this kind of scholarship benefit as a well-performing like non-EU student, you need to meet a certain requirement every year to uh, get the next year's scholarship.
Mm.
So, for example, if you get your first year scholarship and you do like a very bad job in your school, you don't pass the exams, and you will not get your scholarship in the next year. So you
Okay.
have to keep up with the exams and yeah, perform well in the class.
Oh my God, I can't believe this right now. This is wild. Okay, okay, right. I think this is basically all of my questions because all the other questions are going to be about this amount of money, which isn't going to change anything. So, um, right, I'm going to quickly change to basically ask the chat if they have any questions for you. And then we will move on to the second part of the interview, which is basically all about Padova city. Okay, we'll wait a few minutes. Is there anything that you would like to add while we're waiting? Like anything that you wish that you knew or that you didn't expect or that you would tell a student who's considering Padova?
Uh, I think like a lot of students who come to Padua will enjoy their life in Italy, but if you are not so happy, let's say being in like a small city,
Mm-hmm.
I think those students can kind of reconsider their choices because Padua is like a very small city.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Housing issue. Housing issue is a big thing in Padua. It's a
Okay.
housing crisis.
But we're going to talk about
Maybe,
the city
yeah,
in
we're
the
gonna talk
second
about it
part.
in
Yeah.
the city later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't seem we have any questions, just people saying that they should have applied for Padova and changing their pre enrollment. So, we did actually get a question, and it is what about technology advancement in your curriculum? Like, do they implement learning about AI or robotics? So, Lisa asked.
That's I'm a big fan of AI stuff, but unfortunately there's no lectures like about lectures about like AI medicine or like a technology advancement. We have a like a biocomputing class, which kind of gives you idea of how computers and like things are used for like a medical research.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's enough to explain you about AI medicine or things. What else can be? Oh, maybe we have some elective courses that you can freely choose, like other than like our normal curriculum. There are like free courses you can choose in the field of medicine. Like with the you can also can get credits from that. And in those elective courses, there are some lectures related to medical technology, like a proton therapy or robotic surgery, etc.
Mm-hmm. So Priyansha has, I think, kind of a related question, which is, hey, I have seen there have been many medicine seminar type things in Padova Uni. Are they open to med students? So I guess that's talking
Oh, of
about like
course.
the open days. No.
Of course.
Okay.
Like every semester we have like every 2 or 3 different seminars related to medicine. Actually, I've been to. Oh, actually, this might be relevant because I've been to a forum, AI and medicine forum that was held in Padova.
Mm-hmm.
They invited like a world-class researchers around the like a great universities, and like there was a conference about AI's role in like a medical field, and it was really great because it can be an opportunity to network like with the researchers around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting because at the seminar I was able to meet a professor in Harvard Medical School who graduated Padova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a follow-up. Are there any anatomy or histology practicals in preclinical years? So we talked a little bit about the anatomy ones. What about histology practicals?
For histology, yes, there is. There are lectures with the microscope where you look into different histopathological slides of the different um, tissues, different cells. You also get to see a lot of different tissues that's affected by certain disease. So I think that's the practicals, like a lab session that we do for histology. But it's not that many. I think I did like 2 or 3 different sessions for histology lecture.
Cool. Okay, I think now we're done with questions, I hope. Okay, which we'll say bye to the video and then start recording the second part.